Good morning, this is Pamela Bluewater with J&S Biblical Productions. Today we are going to take up a subject that devoted theologians and scientists have fought each other over for years. When Charles Darwin came out with his famous On the Origin of Species in 1859, he set up protests from every religious institution in the world. There is no room for God in his theory of evolution. Today we have two guests in the studio to see if a compromise can be made between those who adhere to science only and those who believe that only God created mankind. Welcome Dr. Charles Thromboyd from MIT and Bernard Baumgarten from St. Andrew's Ministry in Yorkshire, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Thromboyd, you're first. So as an eminent research scientist of the human body, can you explain with certainty how the human body could have come into existence with all its moving parts without a creator?
Excuse me. If I may answer that question first, if I may.
Okay.
Before Dr. Thromboyd has even the opportunity to attempt to convince you, if that's possible, that chemistry and physics, biology and mathematics alone could possibly explain just how the human body came into existence. Take biology. It has yet to tell us how the alleged first living organisms emerged from non-living matter.
I wasn't going to do that because Charles Darwin did that for us in 1859 when he simply explained how man evolved from lower life forms. But since you did mention mathematics, yes, man is made up of many complex mathematical equations.
Seriously? That's what you're going to go with? Well, you're absolutely wrong, because Genesis 1 clearly states that God created man in his image, and he gave them wonderfully designed minds with which not only to control their physical functions, but also their mental abilities as well, such as making decisions. You know as well as I do that cells, living cells in the brain have control of the welfare and the future of all our moving and non-moving parts. We are not simply a robot made to perform a singular function. No. We're highly complex. We have this wonderfully designed, we can repair ourselves. We have this wonderfully designed immune system that is composed in part of antibodies and white blood cells. Automobiles can't do that. I'm surprised that you would even give a thought that the possibility that a random collision of molecules could possibly form the human brain. I mean, that's akin to a monkey sitting down at a piano and randomly striking keys thousands and thousands and thousands of times until finally somehow he composed a piano concerto in A minor. Ridiculous.
Well, I would like to explain to you, Dr. Baumgarten, without putting you down, that the universe is set up to obey certain laws of physics and chemistry, which may be over your head and beyond your religious understanding. Your use of God to explain the laws of nature may well be a symbol of your ignorance of science.
Wait, that is a horrible conclusion, that God is a symbol of our ignorance. Even I am have a high school education, have to say that you have no grounds to say science disproves God.
Thank you, Ms. Sedgway. I appreciate your input, but if I may, please allow me to take it from here. Dr. Thromboyd, you are going to have a difficult time indeed explaining, utilizing only secular science as to how this wonderfully, obviously designed universe that is so tailor-made for human existence could possibly come to be without admitting to a divine creator. Take humanities. What law, what principle, what rule of mathematics could you possibly give to explain how we as human beings have created such wonderful works of art? The Mona Lisa alone has been acclaimed as being one of the greatest paintings in all the world. Doesn't there have to be a higher power to combine these elements into an aesthetic visual experience?
But art, like everything else, has to be the result of a random collision of atoms, neutrons, and protons. God has nothing to do with that, nor does God have anything to do with Kepler's mathematical equation for planetary motion. P2 equals A3, which was meant to measure what we observe in our solar system. Newton's mathematical brilliance was realizing that the basic equation could be made universal by applying a gravitational constant to the equation, which includes the weight of the sun plus the planet, and thus he gave birth to one of the most important equations ever derived by man. This equation proves that God has nothing to do with the planets.
You realize, of course, that Kepler and Newton were creationists, and so were Galileo and Pascal, Joule, Boyle, Faraday, and a host of other founding fathers of modern-day science. Do you know why they chose creation? Not because of some religious epiphany. Oh, no. It's because they studied. They studied this universe and they saw the complexity and the order in it. Why, the equation alone that Kepler gave is proof that there is a divine creator, because without order, you cannot have an equation. You mentioned that Newton came along and added a constant. You cannot have a constant without order. Nature, in and of itself, if it could create anything, would create chaos. But when you have order, that demands a creator.
Now, we see that Dr. Baumgarten is a Bible-beating bunko artist.
Oh my God. Dr. Thunbright, you're trying to eliminate God altogether. You're saying that a painter, a composer, a writer could be reduced to a formula without an outside creator to produce those gifts? Then you're a high priest of mumbo jumbo, and I don't like your formula. It doesn't have anything to do with God.
Hey, all right, enough. Science and mathematical formulas versus God. May these two fields of understanding should stay apart, not try to trample each other. I am reminded of Proverbs chapter 11, verse 29. He who brings trouble on his family will inherit only the wind, and the fool will be a servant to the wise. The film Inherit the Wind in 1960 brought up the same conflict. Does the existence of apples prove that oranges cannot exist? This is Pamela Bluewater for J&S Biblical, suggesting that maybe science and religion should both continue to provide us with the choices of two different explanations of the universe we live in. Let's have your comments. Good morning.
What are your thoughts on today's story? We'd like to know. So, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel, J&S Authentic Biblical Productions. Whether it's the Word of God through parables, true stories illustrating parables, or true stories in the life of Jesus Christ with commentary, you can see them all by subscribing to the most comprehensive collection of videos of biblical stories for you and your family. Have a blessed day.